If you are a romance reader, especially sports romance, you're probably familiar with this feeling or scenario. So picture, usually the chemistry is already off the hook, but the relationship is chaotic at best because there's a lot of messy decisions. There's a lot of miscommunications that are happening, and the characters are just circling each other like half of the damn book. I am a romance reader through and through, so I will still eat that shit up. But in the Windy City series, especially in this book, In Her Own League by Liz Tomforde, it does the complete opposite of that. And honestly, I think this romance book hits so hard. I usually read about 110 to 140 books a year, and a big chunk of those books that I read falls under the romance genre, and it's ranging from contemporary to romance fiction to romantic. And in all of those books that I've read that falls under that category, I've never quite come across a relationship that develops in a way that this one does. In this video, I really want to break down why this couple, Monty and Reese, work so well. And I want to show how this book actually fixes one of the biggest problems that most sports romance have by just changing one thing in the formula. Sometimes when you read a sports romance, you go for it because it's fun and it's predictable, because a lot of the sports romance kind of read the same way. But when the City series came into the picture for me, it was prominent that it was different. Especially for this book, it felt different, honestly. And it made me really think, what made me fall for these characters so hard, even more than I already do? And it made me realize in this series, and it's more obvious in this book, they flip the usual romance formula. But in this series, especially in this one, it starts with an emotional connection. There's attraction, obviously, but the main thing that they start out is the emotional connection. And I think that's why it works so well. So really quick, the background of the story. In Her Own League by Liz Tomforde, we follow the female main character, Reese. Our queen Reese. She is this confident, not your typical woman, navigating this male-dominated sport as a new owner of a baseball team. And then we have our main male character, Monty, who is the field manager of the same team. And he is a steady guy who just admires Reese, who is not intimidated by her ambition, who actually anchors her. He respects her. He never makes her feel small at all. And their relationship starts with some banter, which is super cute. We see it grow into so much more. And pretty early on, maybe in chapter 2 or chapter 3, I felt like, oh, okay, this is gonna be very different. This is gonna hit. I remember I was like, oh, Ms. Liz, ho, best HIT. So Daddy Monty, let's talk about him. Monty is a rare breed in romance, and let's be real, in real life too. He is solid, he is dependable. When he is attached to you, he is unshakable. What makes him so much more attractive is not only that he's protective, is that he respects powerful women. He does not shrink Reese to make himself more powerful. He doesn't ever compete with Reese's success. Instead, he's the kind of man that sees a confident woman and says, I want all of that. And I think because he's older, it comes with the territory that he has more emotional maturity. So that means he doesn't play games. He doesn't hesitate. He knows what he wants and he moves towards what he wants. There is something refreshing seeing a man who is intentional about getting what he wants instead of being confusing. We want this. We all dream of this. We all need this. But Monty is only half of the equation. Reese is the other half. Reese is such a satisfying character to see in this book because she is unapologetic and taking space. She's fiercely dominant. She knows what she wants. She knows her goddamn worth. One of my favorite parts is her character wasn't reduced or softened or made small just to make the romance in the book cozy or comfortable. I love that. And she exists in a male-dominated sport, so that means she's constantly navigating in a world where she has to prove herself, but she remains to be confident and be direct about what she wants and what she desires, and that is sexy. What I love the most about her is honestly the fact that she is powerful, but she's still human. She still has doubts. She still questions herself, and it makes her confidence feel real and not perfect. Seeing a woman take space like that, especially in romance book where the typical heroines or the typical female main characters doesn't usually look like that, is just so inspiring and so breathtaking that it just gives me hope and it makes me feel truly seen. But the real magic here is them together. Individually, they're really good, but their dynamic does not follow the usual romance pattern that most romance books, or especially sports romance books, have. Because instead of starting with this intense sexual, physical attraction and chaos, Monty and Reese actually connect first. They talk, they tease each other, they banter like they like each other. And the banter that they have sounds like they're enjoying each other's company. They actually start being friends first before anything else. Reading this actually both calmed my nervous system while simultaneously giving me explosions of butterflies. I can't explain it to you, but it feels amazing because usually when I'm reading romance, I'm bracing myself when something good is happening. I can't just enjoy it. And this means it's creating some sense of emotional safety. I've read the past books before, and the previous books in the series follow the same pattern. That's why I've become obsessed with these books, because there's a lot of communication in these books. But most especially in this book, there's a lot of flirting, there's a lot of tension, but there's very little of that classic trope where someone misunderstands something and everything blows up. So it just feels good because when conflict pops up, it's almost addressed right away, or at least in this grown-up way. They ask questions, they process appropriately, they confront it, and then they ask resolution. They talk, and the resolution comes from communicating and not through dramatic mind games. That emotional safety is gonna change how the romance and the physical intimacy show up in the book. Because instead of everything immediately escalating into this sexual tension, their connection actually grows through just small moments, like them holding hands, or small domesticated moments, knowing each other's coffee order, or sharing space with one another. Those moments are what builds this emotional vulnerability, which will make the physical intimacy so much more intense. So when they finally do get together, it's gonna be feral, because it's not gonna be just passion. You mixed vulnerability in there. It's gonna be intense. It's not about just wanting to rip each other's clothes off. Everything is gonna feel 10 times fold. The way they want to hold on to each other, intense. Their thrusts are gonna be intense. The way they're holding on to each other is gonna be intense. The formula, listen up. If you put emotion first plus physical intimacy, it will reward you so much more. Okay, got it? That is the secret. That's why the payoff feels so satisfying. Honestly, these quieter moments feel so much more to me sometimes. Don't get me wrong, I love me some easy stuff. There's some scenes here and they're just like, but these quieter moments built this book brick by brick. And without these moments, these spicy things that we love will not feel the same without them. So I think that's where you really see the big difference between this book and most of the sports romance, right? Because a lot of sports romance rely heavily on the sexual tension right from the get-go. And the yearning is usually mixed with a lot of miscommunication tropes. And there's a lot of more mind games. The characters play hard to get. They hold back information. But the Windy City gang, especially Monty and Reese, they don't follow that pattern. The relationship is built on mutual connection, honesty, and an intentional connection. That's what makes romance feel deeper and healthier, and honestly just more addictive to read. That's why readers like me fell in love so hard with Reese and Monty in this book, because they created something so rare in romance books these days, and it's emotional safety. They made each other feel so secured rather than confused. There were no questions what they felt about each other at any time. There was no second guessing, and when a couple in a romance are just both powerful, strong, intentional, and supportive, it just hits so different. So that's why this relationship lingers so much in me after reading this book. Since it's rooted in emotional safety, it becomes so much bigger than chemistry. Monty and Reese just set the bar so high for the new power couple and just romance itself standard. I'm still mourning the loss of throne of caught up, but it's deserving because this story is the true embodiment that chemistry is more than just a physical attraction. They could have easily veered towards it, but they didn't. The most powerful love stories, or just stories itself, is built in recognition. People seeing their partner for exactly who they are. Ambition, confidence, scars, and saying, I want that. I want all of that. And maybe that's the reason that this story hits so hard. Because when a story is built on something so solid like that, it stops feeling like a fantasy and it starts feeling like it's possible. So I give this story to you, and I hope that you love it as much as I do. I'll see you later.